What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Fitment Industries Garage. I'm Gels from Fitment Industries, and if you're watching this video, odds are you just picked up an Infiniti Q60 or have had one and are looking for some new wheels, tires, or suspension for it. So luckily enough, you've come to the right place. We got the perfect tool to help you guys find out what wheel size or tire size or what suspension setup you want to go with for your car. So what we're going to do is hop on over to the Fitment Industries gallery over at fitmentindustries.com and punch in Infiniti Q60 and take a look at what other people are running as far as wheel specs, tire specs, and suspension setup. So let's go ahead and dive right into the first car, and don't forget, wheels, tire, suspension, fitmentindustries.com, all that sort of good stuff. So up first on the list for today, we have a 2018 Q60 on some Rohana RFX 11s. Now these are a 20x9 plus 22 in the front and a 20x10 plus 25 in the rear. For the tires, we're looking at some Falcon FK 510s, 245/35 and a 275/30. So with that, all sitting on some RSR lowering springs, we're looking at approximately about a 2-inch drop with those lowering springs. We're looking at a kind of a tucked fitment here, slightly flush, no fender rolling or anything like that, and no rubbing issues whatsoever either. So overall, just a very solid, dailyable setup that looks really, really good. If you're looking for like a flush setup here, I think this is a great option to kind of start off with if you're looking for that good baseline. Moving on to car number 2, we're getting slightly more aggressive with our widths and our offsets. We're going to be taking a look at this blue 2018 on some BC forged HCS 04s. All right, now these are 20x9.5 plus 20 in the front and a 20x10.5 plus 30 in the rear. So like I said, bumping up those widths a little bit. For tires, looking at some Hankook Ventus V12 Evo 2s, 245/35 and a 285/30, and then sitting on some Airlift Performance air suspension. So a lot of these guys, like as you would imagine, like to go with the air suspension. These are bigger cars, they look good on the ground. The air suspension is one way to kind of do that. So we're looking at a tucked fitment here, even with a little bit of a wider setup, just because of how much camber comes into play with the air suspension here. Still no modifications as far as having to roll your fenders or rubbing issues listed with this setup. So if you're looking to go the air suspension route, this would be a good first starting point for you to look at. Car number 3, we're going to take a look at another 2018, this time on some Rohana RC10s. And this is a square setup, so both the same front and rear. Now this is a 20x10 plus 25 setup on this car. Now we're looking at some Toyo tires, Extenza HP2s, 275/30 for the size, and then once again on those RSR lowering springs, so you can expect about that 2-inch drop in ride height. Still, no rubbing issues, not having to have the fenders rolled, nothing else on here, just the straight wheels, tires, and the lowering springs on here, getting a nice flush fitment all around. You got that square setup, so you don't have to worry about, buying different size tires. If you need to rotate them, you can just get the one and done setup here. I think it looks really good. 20x10 plus 25. If you're looking for a square setup, I think this is the ticket here. Next up, we drop here to a 2017 with some Verde Axis wheels, and these are 20x10.5 plus 35. So another square setup here, however, going to a 10.5-inch wide wheel instead of the 10 that we just looked at, and then bumping that offset back up to a plus 35 to help kind of accommodate for that. So if you want to go with a 10.5 a little bit wider, you're probably going to have to, like this guy did, bump up that offset back up so it's a little less aggressive with your offset. So for tires, we're looking at a 275/35 Continental all season, and then once again, those RSR lowering springs coming in here. So fenders are rolled on this car, just as a note. So the first car that we're seeing to have to roll your fenders, no rubbing issues whatsoever with that, so it probably alleviated any issue that he was going to have. We do recommend rolling fenders with any sort of kind of aggressive setup. With this one being the first one, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea even with the last couple, just to do it just in case, so you don't mess up your tires or anything like that, because that's just a bad day. So with this one, again, another flush setup here, a little bit more aggressive than the last one with that help with the wider width. Overall, fantastic looking car. Moving right along here, getting into the final 3, we take a look at this 2017 with some Ferrata F8 FR5s. Now these are a 20x10 plus 25 in the front and a 20x11 plus 50 in the rear. So a common trend here, you see going up at those widths, we're also bringing that offset back to a less aggressive offset, just because you're sinking those wheels in just a little more to the inside of the car instead of pushing them out further. Continental Extreme Contact Sport tires, 255/35 and a 305/30, so even a big tire on here. BC Racing coilovers for the suspension choice, getting a very flush fitment. Fenders are rolled, no rubbing or scrubbing issues here. Lowered about 1.5 inches in the front and 1 inch in the rear. Notes here say there's room to drop another inch or more if the tuck fitment was the goal. He has SPL rear camber arms and SPL front upper control arms with adjustable camber, as well as some end links and bushing collars just to kind of help dial everything in. So you could go lower, and if you want to go lower, you absolutely can with this setup, and especially with those additional suspension components. And that's what you'll see when you start getting into the wider, more aggressive setups. You'll start to have to dial everything in as those clearances become a little more shallower. Getting back to the air suspension route, we're taking a look at this white 2017 on some Rohana RFX 5s, 20x10 plus 22 in the front and a 20x11 plus 28 in the rear. Some Falcon tires, 255/35 and a 275/30, so getting a little bit of a stretch on here. Airlift Performance air suspension for the suspension choice, and then we are looking at fenders rolled, stock camber just lowered on the air, so the natural camber that comes into play when the car is lowered on the air suspension, and then the fenders actually, like I said, are rolled. So getting kind of like a flush fitment in the front, a little bit of a tuck in the rear, you know, just your classic air suspension setup here on these Q60s. So there you have it. Those are some solid examples of some of the Infiniti Q60s that are sitting in the Fitment Industries gallery right now. There's plenty more over there if you want to go check them out for yourself. Maybe you didn't see something exactly what you were looking for here. You want to get just a better idea of what other people are running. Feel free, hopping over to the Fitment Industries website. It's a fantastic tool to use. We got calculators, we got the gallery, you know, all the stuff that you need to figure out what wheels are going to fit your car and to make sure that when they show up to your door and you slap them on your car, they're going to look exactly how you want them to look. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, Wheels Tire Suspension, fitmentindustries.com. If you have any questions, just let us know down in the comments below. We'll make sure to answer them for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you later. Peace.